All right, time to take this skirt off. I've already got the reflector off. I've taken the screws off of the freshwater tank drain. The retainer clip for the storage compartment door here, that's off. All the screws out of this trim. I just need to cut my sealant, get that trim off, pop this door frame, all the screws out of this door frame, and get that out. Loosen up the clamp that holds this water line on, get that nozzle off of there, and remove all of the screws from the jack bracket there. The way these skirts are built, they actually go way up in here. The fiberglass is cut, or the Phylon panel is cut underneath this trim, but the actual wood panel extends all the way up to the aluminum frame, which is here. So all of this has to come out. The fiberglass has to be lifted all the way out. So I might have to remove this propane door as well, as just remove this entire jack, but I'm going to try to do it without removing the whole jack and just that lower bracket first. Took the razor blade and got most of this sealant off of the edges there. Still a little bit left, but not too bad. What makes quick work of that is, if you've watched my other videos when I did the other side, these little razor blades, you get a set of these blades, make real quick work of that. They pretty much come off in one long thing. There's a big pile of sealant there, but now I have to remove this jack and this lower jack plate. So unfortunately I didn't have the foresight to keep that one up off the ground, so I have to manually raise it. Not a big deal. I have the manual crank for that. I'm just going to get it cranked up, and that way I can get the brackets taken off of this, get the jack removed, because I have to be able to get to this piece of trim and get this screw trim off, the screw cover off, to get to all these screws to remove that. Once this metal trim is off, there are some long screws that go into this rear skirt through the back wall. So those have to come out before I can get to, cutting all this stuff. If you've watched my last video when I did the other side, there's just a bunch of staples along here. Most of them are rusted out, but get my multi-tool and get up in there and cut all those staples and stuff out. So if you don't have the hand crank for your electric jacks and you have a cordless drill, now this has to be a 12 volt cordless drill, cordless screwdriver. What I've done, and I do this quite a bit when I'm out testing stuff on RV inspections, I took some disconnects, a couple of pieces of wire, just like a 2-foot piece of wire, some disconnects, and then I hammered them down, kind of smashed them flat. And then you've got your positive and your negative terminals on the battery, so you can slide those in, and now you've got your leads here. I've got a negative lead there, or a positive lead there, depending on which direction you want to go with the motor, and then your positive or negative here. I'll show you what I do up close what I'm doing. So I'm just throwing one of them on there and then touch the other one. If you want to go the other direction, switch the leads. Alright, so get this off the ground a little bit. I can remove these lower brackets that I installed a couple years ago. The center bracket and these 3 bolts to get the jack removed. There's one plug right here that gets unplugged, and then this whole mechanism can come off. All right, and then on these compartment doors, there's screws all along the inside, and on some of them it's a good idea to have one of these 90-degree bits, because that way it doesn't get bound up on the floor. Some of them might be the hex. I had a couple of them that were hex. And then if you've got some of these these trim tools, you know, to kind of get up on the screw and pry down, especially for some of these that don't have, you know, didn't have a lot of, you know, good wood to bite into, that were kind of stripped out. That interior tool is really, really good for that. All right, so I can go ahead and get my tool which is just a putty knife, to get the butyl tape broken away from the phylon and get that door out of here. That's it. So you can see on the inside of that frame, they did not put butyl tape. There's no butyl tape. It was just a little thin bead of sealant. And when this goes back on, I'll put butyl tape under it, like I did the other side, and then seal it. And again, it's really easy to get this old sealant cut off the scraper. Okay, so now we can get these screws, and this trim can come off. Same with this. Oh, look at all that rust. Cut my little bit of sealant there. There. Oh yeah. That is, I don't want to poke it too bad because I need to use it for the jig, but that is soft. It's wet. So it looks like water was probably getting in there and running all the way down this trim, probably getting in these screw holes and everywhere else. Well, we'll fix that. You can see how they build these things. That's just pine. And then this backing is just a paper. That backing right there, that's just paper. And then they use a 3-ply Luan that when they, in the manufacturing process, they don't use waterproof glue. So, you know, it just falls apart. So I need to get some of these screws out. 1, 2, 3. There might be one. Well, no, I think that's about it. Just 3 of them. So since this was a generator pre-wire, you can see right there, this whole side has a metal shield on it. The other side didn't have that. So I'm not going to put the metal shield back on, or I don't know, maybe I will. Depends on if I get these staples out or not. Okay, so now I can start pulling. I need to take all these screws out, and then there's the main screws that attach it to the frame all the way around. So I can start pulling these guys out. All right, so this is just kind of wrapped around. I'm gonna pull this back up with their staples holding it down. So I'm gonna get the multi-tool back out, cut those staples, and kind of bend those flaps for this generator compartment back around. And I'm sure there's some screws up in there like there was on the other side. And there's no way to get to them from the top side. So they'll have to be cut, or maybe they're put in from the bottom side. I'm not sure. But I'm going to go ahead and take measurements of all these pieces while it's still on, while I have access to it, just in case it breaks apart when I'm trying to get it off the camper. So I'm going to go ahead and get measurements of what I can. And over on this other piece here, this is that metal shield. So measure that, and then that little piece there, 2 pieces there. There's nothing on the back side of this but Luan, so of course that'll have to be cleaned up with the scraper blade on the multi-tool. All right, well, I was able to cut the staples there and then bend this lip with my canvas pliers I use for stretcher and grill cloth on speaker cabinets. So that will allow me to pull this panel straight out, hopefully. Well, there it is. Between that and that metal flashing, that piece there, and a little bit right there, that is this piece here. The rest of this I can get There are screws up top. Those will have to be cut and the new wood put in, but not a big deal. So it goes up in here. I'll clean that up with the grinder. All right, so while I'm at it, I'm relocating my freshwater tank drain spout to over here. It'll come out this side. I'll cut this extra and mount it right there. All right, so new butyl tape on the inside of that, and I got this cut to length. And get the clamp put on, get it tightened down. So this old generator box is not going back in, and that's about 23 pounds that's not going back in. So that's a little bit of weight savings there. All right, so I redecked that and put a fiberglass panel in there. So it's nice and clean. Relocated my freshwater tank drain to here, which I like better. It's off of the side panel. So now just need to get all these pieces cut. Got all my measurements, so got my all my framing here. This is that plastic. It's like a composite poly material. Same stuff I used for the other side. So this video is running long. I'm going to stop it here, and next video will be framing up this other skirt and getting it installed. So I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.